are a reflection of the people around you, right? Not to say that you have control over who they are, but the reason why they're in their life, in your life, is because of you. And so if you find yourself like drawing in people who are toxic, who are inconsistent, who are unapologetic, that is a reflection of you and what you're willing to accept within your own life. And so you have to figure out like, well, what is it about me that draws in these type of people, right? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to My Therapist Needs a Therapist. I'm your co-host, Alicia Freeman, licensed professional counselor. And
I'm the other co-host, Tamika Thompson, the other licensed professional counselor. Welcome.
welcome. I don't even know what episode we're on. I think six, five, six, something.
Something
I think
like
it's
that.
six. But yeah, we're back for another episode. We have been trying to play around a little bit with social media. So if you are not following us on Instagram, My Therapist Needs a Therapist Pod, as well as on YouTube, My Therapist Needs a Therapist, please do follow us on both of those things. Like, comment, share, give us your thoughts about our content. If there's anything in particular you want to see, or if there's a story you want to share. I think one day we're going to do a Q&A episode where we're just answering your questions. So if you want to start putting those questions down below in the comments, please do so. We're excited to hear what you all have to ask and say. So, Tamika, what's been going on with you, girl? It's been a while.
It has been a while, but I am super excited to be back. But before we get into it, also too, we've had some past comments and questions, and we have written them down, and we're definitely going to get to them. So yes, please keep adding them, because
Yeah.
we love reading them. So what's been going on with me? Oh man, I always say busy, 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 busy,
Yes.
work, life, everything has just been going on right now. Still have kiddo playing basketball, have another one driving all over the place, which
I
I'm
know.
like,
And working.
and working. Like,
Yes.
okay, what is this all about? So, not ready for all that, but I guess I need to work. And us doing this podcast, I'm so glad that we're back. I know it's been a few weeks and stuff, but we are excited to be back. So that's what I have going on. How about you?
Yeah, you're a busy mama. Uh, I have been baking baby number two. I've been busy, just with work, really, just doing trainings, presentations. I just recently did a training with my director on for some of the departments in our company who do a lot of on-site work, like hosting events for attorneys. And so some of the things that they wanted to get training on is just how to help someone that they see are experiencing a mental health crisis. And so we did a training on that, which that turned out to be a really good training, very hands-on, very practical skills, which is the type of work I like to do.
Mhm.
But other than that, like hanging out with my baby girl and dad and Maverick, who that's my dog, if no one knows who he is. I always have to say he's 100-pound Labradoodle is what he is, but he acts like a big baby. His birthday is actually on the 24th, so he'll be 3.
Look
So
at you.
yeah,
Oh, happy
I know.
birthday.
I know. Happy birthday to him. Y'all tell Maverick happy birthday. I'm still trying to decide what we're gonna do. I'm sure he wants to go to his favorite park and go for a walk. I know that's one thing we always do.
That's awesome.
And then take him to the toy store and let him pick out a toy. But yeah, that's kind of our tradition. Other than that, I've kind of just been hanging out, just trying to keep my health together, doing some self-care, gotta keep my walks going or some type of exercise. I'm about to be 27 weeks soon, so almost 12 weeks to go, a little bit more than 12 weeks, and
Mm.
doing good, feeling good. Other than my eye was bothering me this morning, but that's about. But I'll tell you something that I've been, and I'm sure other people have too, and some might laugh, but I really like pop culture and I like true crime. And so
Mhm.
this is kind of a combination of both. I mean, it wasn't a murder that this person has been charged with yet or at all, but I've been keeping up on this Diddy mess.
Oh
Did he
my.
do it? Did he not do it? We don't know. Um,
Mhm.
but what we do know is that he is certainly has a history of some foul stuff that he has done that we know has come up in the Cassie documentary. I mean, document. court
Mhm.
case that was closed out in 24 hours for an undisclosed amount. And he
Oh,
has
wow.
like 3 or 4 other lawsuits, including one that's against his son that he's also a part of. So many things, and of course, this brings up all the old stuff from the '90s. Did he kill Tupac? Did he kill Biggie?
Oh,
Did he was the one that shot up the club when him
mhm,
and J-Lo were dating? No one knows, right? But I
mhm.
guess time will only tell, and so that's kind of been my juicy drama for the last few weeks, really
Yeah.
the last month. But they
Mhm.
say, who was it? Cat Williams said that 2024 is the year of truth. So I guess we'll find out eventually.
Yes.
Have you been keeping up with any of that stuff?
No, I hear it a little bit here and there, and I know some people have this like, I don't know, glorify like, oh, I love this star and oh, I love that star. I just don't because I feel like, I don't know, like I have expectations and then I get disappointed or I get sad because I'm like, man, not necessarily I idolize that person, but this person is beautiful. This person is really talented. This person is really cool. And then something like this comes up, and I just feel like I get depleted. So, I mean, I hear things here and there and stuff, and then I'm just like, yeah, no, let me take a step back from that. So,
Yeah, same. Like I used to, the only two people I can identify that I was like big fans of and this is much younger, probably elementary school, was Whitney Houston and Brandy. Those were my two, and that's because they were my favorite singers. And I'm
oh,
like, I love every song they put out. But I remember in school saying that we used to have this little questionnaire and they asked like, who is your idol? And I'm like, I don't have an idol. Like this is elementary thinking, right? I don't have an idol. So they was like, "You can't leave it blank." I'm like, "All right, well, my mom is my idol." Like, you just put an answer. Not to
Mhm.
say she can't be an idol, but I'm like, I don't idolize anyone. I kind of just look to myself to figure out what I like and dislike. So, um, yeah, a lot of people do, and I think that's why this particular situation is so blown up the way that it is because of who it is.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
opened a lot of doors for other musical artists. So,
Yeah,
yeah, it
and I
makes
think
sense.
that's what's sad for me is like all the good that you have done, that bad just outshines it, and
Yes.
that's it makes it sad. And I know too, and people are looking at other people, and then you got people judging, and you got people saying this and stuff. So it's just hard for me to go. Not to say I'm, so I'm probably judgmental too, but but I try to like kind of stay away from things like
Yeah.
that, like hearing that. One thing that stuck out to me who I didn't like before was Kobe Bryant. I was like, I don't like him, but because he cheated on his wife and he's just not a good
Yeah.
guy. But then
Yeah.
after passing and seeing all these wonderful things that he did and making amends to his wife and just how much he loved his kids and how good a father or husband he was, it just put a different light to me. So that's why I try to try to look at the whole person,
Yeah.
before, because I mean, yeah, he might have did some things, but do we know the whole circumstance around
Absolutely.
that?
Well,
So,
what's so crazy is it's how times have changed because back then, like they were about to shun him for cheating on his wife.
mm-hmm.
But now, like it's glorified.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you don't do it, it's just like, are you sure he doesn't have anything hidden away? Are you sure she doesn't have any? It's like people are digging for it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, y'all not have anything else to do? Like, why y'all
That's
messing
how
with
they
this?
do LeBron and his wife. And yeah.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, Alicia, is now that we're doing this podcast, I I have like random people saying things to me, and some people will be like, "Do you do a podcast?" And I'm like, "Who are you?" and stuff. And I'm like, "Is it getting out there like that?" So
Maybe, hopefully.
I love it. It's super exciting. And I had somebody talk to me and say, "How do you maximize your current relationships that you?"
Mm,
And I was just like, "Ooh, that is such a good question." I was like, "But what do you mean?" Like, I was like, "Is it personal? Is it a significant other? Is it a friendship? Is it a family member?" And he was like, "Just in general." He's like, "I would love to know how you do that. How do you maximize those relationships?" So I want to throw that to you because I mean, I gave him this answer and stuff, but I really want to talk about something like that and see what you think.
Oh man, I mean, I honestly think in the grander scheme of things, because there's always like the shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? But I think it really time only tells. You only learn from the decisions you make in those relationships, whether it's past or current, right? And you figure out what works and doesn't work. But one thing that I've come to learn is to recognize that not every person that is in your life is going to play the same role, right? My
Mhm.
husband is not going to provide me the same type of support or the same type of love and care as say you or say, my best friend, my best childhood friend. Like though everyone is different in my life. So I have to recognize like how did we meet? What relationship did we develop? And what in that relationship keeps us going, right? I have one friend who I know if she calls me or if I call her and say, "Hey, I need this," or "What are you up to?" "Can you come and stay with me when I have my baby?" and all these things, I know that she'll be able to do or will at least try to do whatever she
Yeah.
needs to do to help me out, right? But is that going to be the case for every single person that I call? Probably not, because I may not be a priority for them and
Mhm.
vice versa. So I think just understanding the dynamics of relationships are very key and very important to learning how to maintain them.
Yeah, yeah, that's wonderful. So what do you think about, and this also extends to your work relationships. You have people in your life that you meet at work and they're, acquaintance or they become like a really good friend or they become somebody that you're just not interested in getting to even know more and
Yeah.
stuff. So what does that look like for you?
Man, I've had all those experiences. My very first full-time job, which was actually started off as an internship when I got into the mental health field, like I felt like they became family instantly.
Yeah.
I just connected with them, and I think it's because we grew up in the same area. We were all from the same city, or at least raised in the same city. So the culture there was just common. We were comfortable with being ourselves. Whereas once I moved to Texas, I had to like kind of be more what's the word, guarded on the type of relationships that I had with people, especially in the workplace. One boundary that I've always had is that I'm not going to add you on any social media until I'm no longer at that job. So if I'm at that job for 10 years, you're probably not going to be on my social media. That's just the rule that I have because
Mhm.
people tend to like bleed what I post on social media into work. Not that it's anything negative. I'm a private person, so I don't want to talk about personal stuff that I chose to put on my social media, which is private, by the way,
Mhm.
and bring it to work and talk about it at work. That's just who I am as a person. And so, over the years, like, yeah, I've definitely come across the people where I'm like, you're just going to remain an acquaintance. We're going to keep it professional. And then I've
Mhm.
had people like, okay, you're cool. Like, I can see us being friends. We may not be friends immediately, but it might slowly build up to that.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. And I didn't realize that too about you but I think that's a good point is, not adding someone until after you leave and stuff because people misconstrue things and it just bottom line, you might not want them to know about it or bring it up or ask you anything about those things. So that's pretty cool. I didn't realize that.
I mean, especially even if it's LinkedIn, right, which is a professional site, it's for work. But what if I decide to say, what's the post that they put now? Like, oh, I'm open to finding a new job or whatever. What if they
Oh
see
yeah.
that and then go tell somebody? I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm not ready to have that conversation. I'm just looking for a job right now. I hadn't even, found a job. But I see people posting it and I'm thinking like, well, who is your following and have you had a conversation with
Mhm.
your boss about wanting to change your job? So it's just little things like that. And I'm like, even just if we've never even talked or had a full conversation and the first thing you do is add me on social media, I'm like, you're being nosy.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you on that.
Yeah. I don't care what is on, you're being nosy.
Mhm.
So yeah.
I'm with you on that one. Yeah, I was actually having texting my cousins last night. just being funny, and talking about just all kind of things. I won't bring their name up, but they'll be like, "Oh, this podcast is really good today." I'm like, "Mm-hmm, bringing y'all on there." They're like, "Yeah, we ready to be a superstar."
Okay, so come on.
Having fun and stuff, but just talking about like our relationships have changed throughout the years. We talked about being better cousins to one another. We all have so much going on. Everybody has their own life. Everybody is working. Everybody going through like different emotions and stuff. But we are trying to work on being better cousins, and being at a point where we can be honest with one another,
Yeah.
talk through things like, hey, you made me feel some type of way, you be acting like sedity, just like having those conversations and us being open to that. And so I love that part of my life right now, where you can send like random like text messages, and we can be dirty or be
Yeah.
funny or something
Yeah.
like that, and they get you and stuff. And then our friendship stuff where we're sending things. And I think I love what you said the other day. I was like, we both have dark humor, and I'm like, we do, but I've never heard
Yeah.
anybody say it, you know, loud, because I know I had it in my head. And I'm like, I ain't gonna say that. They think I'm weird, and stuff. But for you to
Listen,
put it out
Tamika
there,
still shocks me with some of the things she say. I'm like, okay, I didn't know that was in you. I'm proud of you. No, just kidding.
love that. I love that it's just like not like and stuff. So those are like maximizing your relationships. Do you have a friend that you can go hang out with and get drinks with, or do you have a friend that's your like spiritual person, like, hey, I'm struggling with these things, and I have those. And she's super far away, but I'm like, hey, I'm struggling with this, or hey, I'm having a lot of dreams about my mom, or I'm having this these weird dreams. Like, what do you think about that? And she like just talks to me about that stuff. And you can't talk to everybody about that, because they'll think, like, why are you having like these demonic dreams? Or why are you having like thinking about stuff like this? Or people like, ooh, especially the Black community, girl, we're gonna throw some holy water on you and some stuff. And so I have those type of relationships that super excited. But I think that's how you maximize them, is who is that person for you, like you talked about, that can come over, and talk to you about these things, or I'm struggling in this area, or I'm needing to work through this, or am I acting crazy,
Yep,
and that they will be honest with you and stuff like that. So that's how you maximize. Even at work, you have certain pods of people, and for me, the people that it's not that I don't get along with, but are people that maybe, I'll just be honest, get on my nerves, or something like that. Then, I had to figure out what type of relationship can I have with this person, to keep me emotionally safe, to keep me professional and stuff like that. I think you have to have conversations like that, just for you. And especially when you're coming from a space too, that you're not being judgmental. I think we all have a little judgmentalness in us, but that you're not judging a person, and you're trying to put yourself in their shoes, and also be open to feedback, receive that feedback. But that other person, like you said, who are you dealing with? You said that earlier, like, what type of person are you dealing with? Can they receive it as well?
absolutely. And
Mm.
I guess that brings me to my first question. And we can start with family, like you said that you're trying to um, build onto your relationship with your cousins, right?
Mhm.
Where do you start with that? Like, how did you all even come to recognize that there was a need to work on those relationships? Because I know for me, I have a lot of cousins that I hung out with all the time when I was younger. But then over years, we've started to dissipate. Some I don't even talk to anymore. And I
Mhm.
struggle with that because I see that they might be struggling in one way or another. And I carry a little bit of guilt thinking, did I do enough? Me checking in and all of that. But I can only do so much, right? So, how do you know, like, one, that there's a need, and how do you even begin to build onto those relationships?
That is an excellent question. For us, I think we notice the pulling away. We notice that, okay, this person is married, and maybe doesn't have that time for me. And another person might felt a certain type of way, or, so I felt like we noticed that. I think when we noticed it, it probably pulled us further apart though, instead of bringing us together. So some of the things that we've talked about, and we haven't ironed out like details of what that looks like, but we try to check in with each other. Or, I go down there or they come up here, or we just like text and get on the phone. Like something happened with a family member, and I text my cousin like, "Oh my gosh, I need to work through these things." And for them, they stopped everything they did and we talked for like an hour. Another one of my cousins was dealing with some stuff, and we were just talking and texting, and she opened up about a lot of stuff. So I felt like I was could be there for her, and it wasn't just a you're just there for me or I'm just there for you. It's like this kind of give and take. Sometimes you need more, sometimes the other person needs more. So I feel like that's what's kind of bringing us together. We try our best when we have like big events to be there. Like I'm the furthest away from them, so it's like me needing to go down there and stuff. But being honest, I think too, like, hey, I have a free weekend, but I really don't feel like traveling. Like having those conversations and being honest with one another, or hey, I'm missing you guys. We're gonna come down, or we've even done a Zoom call. We ain't seen each other like in 6 months, so it's like, okay, we get on a Zoom call, and everybody was being so goofy and saying, but it was hilarious. And it was like 2 hours later, and then we were like, dang, it's off. So just I think you have to do things as much as you can. And I think you always have to be honest about, I got a lot going on, so I might not talk to you for a while. But what's wrong with a quick text to say, like, hey, just saying hi or something like that? I think that's when you start to mature and you start to really know, like, it ain't all about me, it ain't all about them. It's an us thing and how we figure it out. So that's kind of how we're trying to navigate some of those things. And of course, we be getting on each other's nerves and fussing, and I'm probably more of the I don't know how they would portray me and stuff, but the outspoken cousin in the family. So they like, oh Lord. And my cousins too get really quiet and I get emotional. I'm a
Yeah,
crier.
I was gonna say because you're passionate, so yep,
We're
I can
passionate.
see
So I'm like, "Boo, boo, 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 boo," but I'm like, you want somebody to beat you up and stuff. And they're all like, I think they just want to give me a hug. But I have my little cousin too. She's just as emotional as I am. And, she'd be over there crying, but she won't say anything. So we balance each other.
that.
So it feels good. Yeah.
So how do you, or how would you say this differs between family or familiar relationship as opposed to a friendship? What differences, major differences do you see when it comes to trying to maintain a friendship?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, and I think that's a tough one. I think for family, you feel like they can't leave you, which they can,
Yeah.
or they can be mad at you, but you're always gonna come back,
Mhm.
to one another. For friendships, I think is talking about, what made you upset or what made me upset, and the person, they might not be in a space to hear it at that time, but maybe later. So, and to me, I feel like if you respect or value that, it's going to come back around. But if, maybe you had things going on in your head or you weren't liking, we talked a little bit about this earlier, like some things that are just kind of building up for you, building up. That's the thing, letting it build up
Yeah.
and not talking about it. So to me, I feel like the difference is a lot of people feel like family is just always going to be there. Friendships, they kind of come and go, or people call them seasons. That makes me sad too, because
Why do you think there's a difference though? Because I feel like if it's, at least for me personally, right? When it comes to friendships, like everybody is not going to be my friend. And I say that to say, like, I'm very cautious when it comes to the people that I allow into my life, especially on a more intimate level.
Mhm.
And so if I consider you a friend, that means I trust you, that I can in some ways depend or rely on you if necessary, right? Not, and we're not talking about financially or anything like that, but just like even emotionally.
Mhm.
But I think because we put friendships in a different category, we also go about treating them differently. But
Yeah.
I also have a best friend that I've had since second grade, and I always joke that she forced me to be her best friend, right? But we've had our issues and we've had to have those tough conversations, but there was never the thought of like, I'm never gonna be her friend again. Like, this is not an option. You may get on my nerves and I may not talk to you for a while, or you may not talk to me for a while, but the friendship is always gonna be there because you are like family to me. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, but I don't think not a lot, some people are in that space, like to think like, oh, I need a break because something happened, but we're always going to be friends. We're always going to be family. I don't think a lot of people are like that. And I'm similar to you. Once I bring you into my circle, I feel like I trust you and feel like, okay, especially around my kids and my husband, like that's something I don't take lightly at all. Somebody could walk around and not know that's my kid or that's my husband because I feel like I need to protect that space because all energy is not good energy. And I don't want that around. And not to say I'm better than or whatever, but that's just how I am because I've seen things happen and I've seen how people treat people or talk about people, and I'm just not that person, so I don't want to be involved in that. So I'm super similar to you, but I do think if people were able to see it more as a family, like, okay, we just need some space for each other from each other, and then but I still love you. I can't stand you right now, but I still love you. I don't think people can do that,
Yeah.
you
And
know.
I understand that that is the case, that not everyone thinks the way that I do or you do or whatever when it comes to friendships. And that goes back to what I was saying originally, like know who you are dealing with, know who you are creating as a friend and know what their mindset is when it comes to friendships. And not only friendships, like how do they deal with confrontation? How do they deal with disagreement? Are they the type of person who runs away from disagreement, or do they confront it head on to try to work on mending those relationships? I think
Yeah.
having that deeper understanding of who that person is also gives you a better idea of how to maintain that relationship, because that leads into the communication aspect, right? You learn how to communicate effectively with this person, and not everybody wants to put in that work. They think that friendships should be easier, right? Because you're my friend, you know? We chose to be friends. So this should
Mhm.
be easier than a family relationship or even a more intimate, spousal partner relationship, because you're my friend. You're my friend. You shouldn't do anything wrong towards me. But that's not always the case. People are people at the end of the day. We're humans. We make mistakes. Our views are different. Even if they're similar, there's always a variety in the way that we process our not our thinking, but the way that we process events and how to respond to those events. And so despite creating this friendship, I think a lot of people struggle to understand we still are different.
Mhm. Yeah, and I love that. That was such a good explanation for that. I want to flip it too and understanding yourself. What are
Absolutely.
you needing? What kind of things trigger you? Or what kind of thing, like, who are you as a friend to that person? Not necessarily saying you're a bad friend, but you might be going through things, or you might be in this super emotional creature that pops off and then says, like, okay, then let me chill out. So knowing who you are as a person, but that doesn't make you any less than, it doesn't make you bad, it doesn't make you not have a good friendship, not have a good family relationship, not have a good work relationship. It's getting to know who you are, like you're getting to know the person that you're allowing in your life.
Mm. But you brought up something interesting. It's like, okay, knowing who you are, and that doesn't make you a bad friend, but can you be a bad friend? I think you
Absolutely.
can.
Hmm.
I think you can. But what's interesting, because I talked to my husband about friendships before and just relationships, even when it comes to like family members. And, you know, he's such a laid back, chill type of person. Like he doesn't, I would say, can always see my perspective, or like when I have chaos or something going on in my family and friends, because not necessarily with friends all the time, not at this point in my life at least, but even with family and just being able to have those conversations and why we even have these disruptions in our relationships in the first place, he can't see that because he hasn't really experienced that in his life.
Mhm,
Like,
mhm,
his whole family is pretty chill, so it's like,
yeah,
I don't relate to it, right? And so his experience with friendships are probably that chaos shouldn't erupt or you shouldn't have many disagreements. It should be easy.
mhm,
But maybe it's because he's also a male. I don't know. And I would love to hear other people's perspectives on this because women, we are a more emotional, upfront emotional beings, right? We're more willing to verbalize our emotions as opposed to men. And so, you know, is that the reason why we tend to experience more of the like up and down in friendships and relationships at some point in those
mhm.
relationships?
I love that you brought that up because my husband is just like that too. Like I'm talking about something and he's like, why is that important or why is that relevant? And I'm just like, eh? Sometimes I'll be doing that. I'm like, can you not see myself? He's like, well,
Yeah.
you're my person, but try to see. But he's like that where his friendships have been since he was kids. Like, and he's very chill, very quiet. You know him, super relaxed, just this laid back person. And he'll tell you like this is just not a bright conversation. Like he's just one of those type of people, it's kind of like black and white and stuff. And but he has those friendships he has as kids are strong. Like the guys in his life are like they call me and it's like, sis, you're good. This it's like that, I come into the family, like they check on me and stuff. So I'm like, so is it a male thing? Like they have these buckets of friends and you might be an acquaintance down the line, but you're probably not gonna be close in the family.
No, no,
I didn't know
exactly.
you since you were two,
Yeah.
like
This
that.
my boy, like, you cool, but this my
Exactly, exactly. Like, it's not
Hey,
very
but there's something to learn from them as well, right?
Mhm,
But then when we also talk about our husbands, we also gotta think about what was their upbringing, what was their experiences. And we come from more traumatic households as
mhm,
well. And that
mhm,
certainly plays a role in the way that we view relationships and the way that we handle the dynamics of relationships as well. So that's something to consider. That's why I say I would love to hear other people's, especially other women's perspectives, maybe, or maybe even males. Do they have chaotic relationships? We don't know. The ones that I know of don't really, even my best friend guy,
mhm.
he's never told me about anything like chaotic when it comes to his friends. So, I mean, maybe it's me. So maybe he had some
Maybe it's us.
chaos with
I
me,
said
right?
it
But
is. That's why I tell my husband, I'm like, and he'll say that too. I'm like, oh yeah, my best friend. He'd be like, I'm your best friend. And I'm like, okay, and stuff. So yeah, it's just,
girl,
it
don't
is,
get me started
it's,
on that.
oh, I know. I know. Some of
Well,
the conversations.
that's for it'll be 15 years since you am I your best friend yet? He was like, I love you so much. Like, get off my it's a joke we have. Don't take it seriously, but it's a running joke we have. And I'm like, I love you, best friend. He'd be like, love you too. But he never like admits it verbally that I am. I know I am though.
Oh yeah, you are. That's about it. He'll be like, yes, you're the bestest ever. But it's like this sarcastic. And then I'm
Uh,
like, ever, man.
but sorry, I told you, I'll get off topic real quick. But but what were you saying?
No, and that's just you're right. Like say the person approaching me and saying, "How do you maximize relationships?" And I love that we talked about work, we talked about family, we talked about friendships, just in general, protecting yourself, and also that getting to know the person that's in front of you, and how do you do that and what does that look like. I think we have to start working, individually as a whole, is respecting and trusting one another. And trust doesn't mean that you have to be a good friend to that person. Like you said earlier, can you be a bad friend? But being honest about that, like I'm not the best at calling, texting, checking in, I'm not the best at this, and so you take that person for who they are,
Mhm.
and you decide where they're going to fit at in your life, and they decide where you're going to fit at in their life and stuff, and that's okay. But that opens up so many doors when you're honest about that and what does that look like. And I think eventually it can lead to more structured, successful, promising, building relationships when you're open with those things. So that's just my thoughts on it and stuff. Of course, I've had my issues with, different things and stuff. I struggle with a lot of stuff, but for me, I feel like I try to think about it. So, and figure out what's the next thing. I'm a talker too, so I'll talk out with my husband, and sometimes he's like, "You putting too much energy into that," but sometimes you have to.
Absolutely. I mean, I think in the beginning, I certainly was not that much of a talker. I was more introverted. I would kind of withdraw as opposed to have those immediate conversations. And that's why I say, can you be a bad friend? Because maybe the person that I had that issue with needed me to talk and I couldn't provide that for them, right? And
Mhm,
so, over time, I've learned that about myself, and that's certainly something I worked on. And I actually went through this period in my life to where I did the opposite, where I did too much talking. And I'm like,
mhm.
all right, now we need to reel it in and
Mhm.
find the balance in that. But part of that was both, not even part. I know with me withdrawing and me over talking was both emotionally driven.
Yep.
I always struggled with feeling guilty about things, and I would hold on to it for
Mhm,
such a long time. And someone had proposed this question on Facebook, I recall seeing, and they were asking like, "Do you have any regrets? Would you change anything?" And my response to them was no, and they were like totally floored at the fact that I said no. But my reasoning and my thinking behind it was that I know the type of person that I am. I know one, that there's nothing I can do to change what has happened, right? Nor there's anything that can happen to change what people have done to me. But if I carry any regrets, that's something I'm going to hold on to that's not going to help me like go forward in life. And so
mhm.
throughout my life, like it's not to say that had I been in there in that moment of time that things would have been different, but there's nothing I can do about it. So what is the purpose of regret? I can learn from it and grow and be better, but that doesn't still change the fact that I may not make a mistake in the future as well.
Yeah.
Right? And so I kind of look at life and I look at relationships like that. It's like I did what I could at the time, but I know that I was functioning in a space to where I only cared so much understanding of self and the people around me. And so over the years, I can grow and I can learn and I can develop and become more mature, but that's only with time.
Yeah, that's
And
wonderful.
yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that I may have lost relationships due to that, right? No
Mhm.
one wants to lose a relationship, but then who am I to say that that relationship would benefit me now? And it's not to say that I'm looking at it in a sense to where what can I gain from this person, but in some ways you want to hope that you can gain something, right? Because I don't know everything. And so
Mhm.
I'm hoping that you could teach me something, or my best friend that I have now can teach me something. My husband can teach me something. And so I want to be surrounded around people who bring something to the table, and I hope that I can do the same for them. But again, that's with growth and understanding and learning how to like find relationships that are also healthy for me.
Yeah, and that's the key right there is you guys might not be in the same headspace or might not be on the same driven path, but how can you benefit one another? Relationships are about give and take, and stuff, and what is that person needing? I know sometimes people struggle with, if I'm too open or too trusting, this person might use this against me or say something about me. I think that's the part of the not regret is you are who you are. You can't control what others do. You can just figure out what works best for you. Hopefully, what works best for them. Hopefully, you guys build a trust. Hopefully, they have some similar views. Hopefully, they're a person that is trustworthy and respects like your boundaries and what you need, and you're also reciprocating that,
Right.
to them and stuff. I think it's extremely important to have that. I for me, I know I was super timid And then I went to super aggressive, like you said, I didn't communicate, then I overly communicate. That's what I overcompensated it. I was like just very timid. And then I went to super, very, very aggressive, and I had to dial it back, but it wasn't because it wasn't who I was and what I needed. And the reason for that is because it resulted in relationships I had when I was younger, the insecurities that I had when I was younger, the self doubt that I had. So we kind of try to adjust to what we need, and I think, like you said, the more we mature, the more we get to know ourselves, the more we maximize the current relationships we have in our life. It can look beautiful and wonderful, and you can have your cousins over here that you talk crap with, and your friend over here that you hang out with, and your friend over here that's your partner in crime, and all that stuff. It's just, how do you do that? Because life is, and I say this, is so short. With me losing my mom and losing my dad and stuff, I'm like, you got to be happy, and what does that look like for you, and enjoying life, and not holding on to hurt and pain and stuff like that. Tell that person, and if they don't receive it well, then move on, and there's going to be somebody there for you, and you're going to be there for somebody else that can, that might need you at that time. So yeah.
Well, that brings up two great points, and one goes back to what you said. But first, like life is ever changing, and so are you, right? But
Mhm.
it goes back to what you said originally that you have to start with you. You are a reflection of the people around you, right? Not to say that you have control over who they are, but the reason why they're in their life in your life is because of you. And so if you find yourself like drawing in people who are toxic, who
Mhm.
are inconsistent, who are unapologetic, that is a reflection of you and what you're willing to accept within your own life. And so you have to figure out like, well, what is it about me that draws in these type of people, right? For a long time, I would find people who weren't in a place emotionally or mentally to really like have healthy boundaries with other people within relationships. It
Mhm.
always end up to being a point to where those relationships became tumultuous and that they were stressed out all the time and they will always come to me. And I'm
Mhm.
like, why am I the person that people lean on and put all their, emotions and stuff on, but then they're not checking on me,
Yes.
right? What is it about me that draws in those type of people? And so I had to really do some soul searching and really reflect on what am I seeking in a person when I first meet them? Am I looking for someone who needs help and
Mhm.
I build a friendship from that?
Mhm.
Or am I looking for people who are already healthy, as healthy as they can be, right? Everyone needs help and support or whatever.
Mhm.
But I really had to look at that. And once I started doing work around that, my friendships that I developed changed. They shifted. They were healthier. We had boundaries. We
Mhm.
were able to have deeper conversations.
Yes. Yeah. That, again, another great point, that you bring up is, yeah, is having not so much surface level conversations, or, do you have a friend that it's just about surface levels and stuff? And again, it's okay to have people in areas, it
Absolutely.
is,
A
you're
good
welcome
time, right?
here too. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, this topic right here was, amazing. I would love to hear other people's thoughts and perspectives on what that means, or your friendships that they have, maybe for years on top of years, or maybe they just met somebody and like, oh my God, this is like my soulmate. This person is the family member that I wish I would have had, or something, or
Yeah,
something. So, what does that look like? So I would love to hear that.
me too. And if you follow us on LinkedIn or Instagram, whatever, we have put up a poll, but we'll probably do another just to get more thoughts and questions from you all. I mean, this is what we're here for. We're here to hear you all's perspective as well. We want to talk about these things. I love hearing people share their stories and their life experiences. That helps me grow as a professional as well. But yeah, I appreciate this topic as well. I think I could talk about relationships
Me too.
all day long. We tried to keep it, pretty straightforward
Yeah.
and minimal, but baby, I could have went here, there, and everywhere. So, but as always, I do appreciate just talking with you, Tamika. Um, we need to look for our next guest. I think our last episode was really well with having Joe on.
Mhm.
If you would like to be a guest on our podcast, you can reach out to us again on Instagram at My Therapist Needs a Therapist Pod. You can send us a message or an email at my therapist needs a therapist podcast at gmail.com. You can also reach out to us on YouTube. But outside of that, don't forget to like, comment, share. Share, 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 share. Get us the views, get us the likes, get us the comments. We're trying to grow. That is our goal. We want to at least hit, let's say, 100 subscribers. I would love to see us at 100 subscribers in the next month. What do you think, Tamika? Think we can
I
do
think we can do it. Yeah, we get so many views.
so many
Go
views?
ahead and like and share, subscribe. Yeah, up there. I think the last time we looked at it, it was like over 900.
Yeah.
So it's amazing, and we really appreciate you guys looking. We appreciate the feedbacks. We appreciate the comments, but definitely, I think we can get there in the next month and
Month
a
and a half. Okay. 6 weeks. 6 weeks.
right there.
Anyway, well, I hope you all have a great weekend or week, depending on when we post this. And again, thanks again.
Bye.
Bye.